When a vehicle is manufactured, it begins at the foundation. It begins with the frame rails, which is the exterior portion of the car underneath. All right? It's the foundation, like a house, it's the foundation of a car. That's how a car is built. A rectangular shaped frame rail with cross beams going across, perpendicular to those beams. That's the foundation. Then this portion is lowered onto that frame rail via the crane, okay, or via machine. The floor of the interior of the car then sits on top of the frame rail. There's an exception to this rule with certain Mercedes, BMWs, Volvo XC90, but we're not going to get into that right now. Just understand that the frame rail is first, frame rail and cross beams, then the floor sits on top of that, and the vehicle is lowered onto that, right? So when we hop underneath cars, what I'm looking for, especially SUVs, I'm looking for any aftermarket modification sealing off or attached, affixed to the bottom of those frame rails and cross beams. Because what does that do? If there's sheet metal, this is the floor, this is the frame rails and cross beams, they will affix sheet metal to the bottom of that. That'll create an anomaly between the factory floor and now this aftermarket floor. All they have to do now is create an access panel in the interior of the car. What that means is they have to cut a hole in the floor to create an access panel and then install some sort of electronic mechanism to open and close that. There's many different ways to do that, but that's not important right now. The important part is being able to identify that aftermarket modification. When you hop underneath the vehicle, you should see raw metal. We call it raw metal right out of the factory. It's not painted, it's gray, it's very rough. That's what it should look like. It should not be shiny, it should not be painted. Is it possible that an undercarriage could be painted to cover up rust? Yes, but again, at this point, when you're looking underneath the vehicle or asking for consent to search, you've already got 30 plus indicators, okay? So you might have a good idea that could be a trap in a car. You start seeing paint on the undercarriage. When I go up to a car, this is all it takes. This will be on the passenger side, but I'll go up to a car, I'll notice now 30 items of interest, and if I feel there's a trap in this vehicle, I will always begin by doing this. That's all I need to do, okay? You can't get to that level without understanding what a factory car should look like. You cannot get to that level without understanding what a factory car should look like. I told you I went around to every car dealership and hopped underneath vehicles. On my slow midnight shifts, when the tumbleweeds were blowing up and down Main Street, I went to the hotel parking lots or the condominiums in the high populated areas, and I parked my car and I walked down the lot, hopping underneath every single vehicle, learning where the exhaust was, learning where the tires were, learning what the undercarriage was supposed to look like. So that way, when I did hop underneath the car, and I noticed an aftermarket modification that stuck out like that. But in essence, pretty much all the vehicles look the same. All the vehicles look the same. So when you see that Bondo and the sheet metal and the spray paint, it's obvious to you, okay?